Beneath the crumbling streets of Centralia, Pennsylvania, an unstoppable fire has raged for over 6 decades, turning this once thriving mining town into an abandoned wasteland. Shrouded in smoke and mystery, its cracked roads and venting steam serve as a gateway to chilling legends, phantom voices, shadowy figures, and creatures that are said to crawl from the fiery depths. What caused this apocalyptic transformation? And why do so many people believe Centralia is cursed? Join us as we explore the haunting history, eerie present, and ghostly tales of America's most infamous ghost town, Centralia, Pennsylvania. Hello to all my fellow creepy little weirdos. My name is Christina. I am a paranormal researcher working towards my master's degree in parapsychology, and I will be your tour guide through the realms of the unexplained, the paranormal, and the just plain weird. Welcome to Horror History and Hauntings. The morning air was crisp in Centralia, Pennsylvania on that fateful day in May 1962. Nestled in the heart of the coal country, the small town had thrived on the black veins of anthracite running beneath it. For decades, miners descended into the earth, their lamps cutting through the darkness as they extracted the wealth that fueled the community. The town streets bustled with life. Children played stickball, shopkeepers greeted customers, and the church bell chimed a rhythmic melody of routine. But beneath the surface, something sinister stirred. It began innocently enough. The town council had planned to clean up the local landfill, a festering pit of refuse on the outskirts of town. Burning trash was a common practice then. It was efficient, if not entirely safe. Onlookers barely paid attention as flames licked at the garbage heap, sending acrid smoke curling into the sky. But they didn't realize that the fire had slipped through the garbage, on down, into the cracks in the ground, finding its way into the labyrinth of coal seams below. The fire ignited the vast subterranean network, feeding on this seemingly endless supply of anthracite. By the time anyone noticed, it was already too late. At first, the signs were subtle. Wisps of smoke curling out of the earth in unexpected places, a faint metallic tang in the air. Then came the heat, rising from the soil as if the ground itself were alive and fevered. Some dismissed it as an oddity. Others prayed it would resolve itself. But the fire was relentless, creeping through the mine shafts like a living thing. It devoured everything in its path. As weeks turned to months, the town began to change. Roads began to buckle and crack as the earth heaved under the strain of the fire's insatiable hunger. Carbon monoxide seeped into the basements, invisible and deadly. Sinkholes yawned open without warning, swallowing cars, trees, and even buildings. The once lush green hills turned barren, their surface scarred by the vents of sulfurous smoke that spewed like a breath of a sleeping dragon. The government declared Centralia uninhabitable. Efforts to extinguish the fire had failed. It was too vast and too deeply entrenched. Most residents accepted buyouts and left, their homes razed to prevent squatters from returning. A few stubborn souls remained, clinging to the remnants of their lives, their memories of a town that once thrived. It was Valentine's Day, 1981. And 12-year-old Todd was playing in his grandmother's backyard, unaware that he was about to come face to face with the very monster that had driven most of his neighbors away. The yard, much like most of Centralia, had changed over the years. Grass gave way to patches of dry, cracked earth, and the thin wisps of smoke curled from unseen fissures under the ground. But to Todd, it was still home, and he moved across the ground without fear, his sneakers crunching on the brittle soil. Then, without warning, the earth beneath him collapsed. A loud crack split the air as the ground opened up beneath Todd's feet, swallowing him in an instant. He barely had time to scream before he was falling. The heat rushed up to meet him, a searing, suffocating force that burned his skin and filled his lungs with acrid metallic fumes. The pit wasn't just a hole. It was a gaping maw, a 150-foot deep sinkhole filled with deadly carbon monoxide, the poisonous breath of the fire that had been raging beneath Centralia since before he was born. For a split second, Todd thought he was dead. The walls of the pit glowed red below him, the heat pulsing like a breath of some ancient beast. But just as he felt himself starting to slide, his hands caught hold of tangled roots. His fingers clenched around them in desperation. Above him, he could see the pale winter sky that was now just a jagged hole, far, far out of reach. Smoke stung his eyes. His chest heaved for air, but the fumes clawed at his throat, refusing to let him breathe. His heart pounded as panic took hold. No one knew he was here. No one would hear him scream over the eerie silence of the abandoned town. He was alone, dangling over a pit of fire and poison, and the earth had no intention of letting him go. Then he heard a voice. Todd! It was his cousin. His cousin, Eric Wolfgang, had seen him appear to vanish. Rushing, he ran to the edge of the steaming chasm. Eric barely had time to register the terror in Todd's wide eyes before he acted. He stretched out his hand, straining, reaching, and praying. Todd's grip was starting to slip, his fingers slick with sweat and soot. With one last desperate lunge, he caught Eric's hand, and in a single, powerful yank, he was pulled back into the world of the living. The moment Todd was back on solid ground, the sinkhole exhaled one last plume of thick white smoke before settling into silence, as if it was disappointed that it had been robbed of its prize. The town had always known the fire was dangerous, but this was something new. The earth was no longer just burning, it was hungry. Todd's near-death experience became national news, a shocking wake-up call that Centralia's underground fire was no longer just a distant threat. It was a predator waiting for a victim. Within a few years, the government would order the town's evacuation, sealing Centralia's fate as America's most infamous ghost town. Today, the ghost town of Centralia, Pennsylvania is more than just a place where the earth burns with an unquenchable fire. It's a realm where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur, where the sins of the past rise to confront the present. Among the whispers and ghostly apparitions that haunt its mist-shrouded streets, 4 terrifying legends stand out, chilling the bones of even the bravest who dared to tread there. The first one is Ray's condemnation. In the heart of Centralia's scorched landscape, one name is often whispered with dread: Ray. Legend has it that Ray was a town councilman who championed the ill-fated decision to ignite the landfill fire that began the underground inferno. Though historic accounts may differ, the spectral tales remain. Those who visit the town and mock the tragic events, laughing at the folly of the fire's origin, often find themselves face to face with Ray's vengeful spirit. His face half melted as though burned by the very fire he unleashed. Witnesses recount that he doesn't speak. Instead, his hollow eyes bore into theirs, an unspoken condemnation so powerful it feels like a weight pressing on the chest. Some claim to have fled in terror, only to find handprints scorching into their car doors or belongings. One group of thrill seekers reportedly saw Ray standing at the edge of a smoking sinkhole, his fingers pointing accusingly as their laughter turned to screams. The second story is the Dark Beast. The streets of Centralia are not always empty. At night, a beast prowls the ruins, its shadowy form moving silently through the haze. Some describe it as a massive dog with glowing red eyes. Others claim it has horns, elongated limbs, and claws that scrape the cracked pavement. The entity's true nature remains a mystery, but its presence is unmistakable. A primal fear that seeps into the soul of anyone who encounters it. Locals who lived in Centralia during its decline recalled hearing unearthly growls emanating from the woods at the town's edge. More recently, visitors have reported hearing the rhythmic thud of heavy footsteps following them, only to find that there is no one there. The beast, they say, is not just a creature, but a manifestation of the town's pain, a living shadow, born from the endless fire and the collective anguish of the displaced. Now, the third tale is a little strange. It's the imps and goblins of the deep. As the underground inferno consumed the coal seams beneath Centralia, some believe it unearthed more than just toxic gases. Deep in the bowels of the earth lay ancient prisons of dark creatures, imps, goblins, and other malevolent entities that now roam free. Sightings of these small, grotesque figures are frequently among those who explore the area's forests and abandoned homes. The imps are described as no taller than a child, with twisted faces, jagged teeth and claws like shards of coal. They are said to skitter in the shadows, their laughter high-pitched and mocking. One hiker recounted seeing a group of these creatures gathered around a smoking fissure, their glowing eyes fixed on him before they vanished into the darkness. Some believe they are drawn to the fire, feeding off its energy, while others think they were bound to the coal long before humans arrived, released now by the raging flame. Finally, the fourth story is the hanged leaders of the Molly Maguires. It's probably the most tragic and chilling hauntings. It ties back to the Molly Maguires. They were the coal miners who resisted oppressive working conditions in the 19th century. Several of their leaders were hanged for alleged crimes like murder, sabotage, and they said that they were part of a rebellion. These men, many believe, never found peace and are condemned to wander Centralia, dragged back by the fires that engulfed the town built on their sacrifice. On rare occasions, figures have been seen reenacting their supposed crimes in the mist, their face gaunt and their eyes lifeless. Some describe seeing ghostly reenactments of ambushes or shadowy forms of kneeling, awaiting judgment in an ethereal courtroom only they can see. You cannot deny that today, Centralia, Pennsylvania feels like a place suspended between worlds. The once bustling town is now a desolate wasteland, its streets fractured and overgrown with weeds. Nature slowly reclaiming what humanity abandoned. The air carries a faint and acrid tang of sulfur, a reminder of the underground fire that still burns relentlessly, a hidden inferno consuming the coal veins far below. Wisps of smoke rise eerily from cracks in the earth, twisting into the sky like ghostly fingers reaching for something unseen. Now, few structures remain. Most were torn down long ago, leaving behind empty lots and crumbling foundations that stand as haunting relics of what once was. The infamous graffiti-covered Route 21, also known as the Graffiti Highway, that was until it was buried in 2020, still lingers in memory, a surreal symbol of the town's transformation. Visitors who wander too far report an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional hiss of escaping gas or the creak of shifting ground. Centralia is more than a ghost town. It's a living scar, where the past smolders beneath the surface, refusing to die. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel so you won't miss any upload that I would have in the future. It would really mean the world to me. Also, you might also like this video about another cursed location, or you might enjoy this playlist on my channel. As always, thank you for watching. Good night and sweet dreams.